Three big division matchups highlight Week 7 in the NFL as Mark and I disagree on all three. We'll debate those games and all the rest on the OFN Today with Mark Lawrence of Covers.com for this Friday, the 18th of October, 2019, on the Our Lads Football Radio Network. Brought to you by ourlads.com, the leaders in online football depth charts. And Covers.com, featuring live scores, stats, and odds, considered the most convenient and entertaining source for sports news and facts, with over 45 million visits a year. So, Mark, one game in the books, and another quarterback goes down in the NFL. It is backup quarterback central in 2019.
That's really what it's become this year, Greg. And I guess it's often been said that you're only as good as your backup quarterback is in this league. And it's really bearing out that way this particular football season here. We're going to see a little bit of Matt Moore, as I understand it, for the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know him well down there in Florida.
Yes, we do. And I don't think he's Andy Reid's kind of a guy. But, the bottom line here is I'm sure Andy Reid will go to plan B when Matt Moore is behind center.
All right, well, we'll see what happens with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Denver is kind of unofficially done the way they played last night, even though they had looked good the last couple of weeks. All right, let's talk about one of those division matchups, and this is one of those that we disagree on, the Colts and the Texans. The Texans coming off that huge win in Kansas City. As a matter of fact, both teams coming off wins in Kansas City. I didn't think we'd be able to say such a thing as good as Kansas City was this season. Colts had the week off, but the Colts have had the Texans number recently. They've won 4 out of 5 straight-up ATS, including the wild card game last year. I really like what Houston's doing. I added them to my futures this week, my Super Bowl futures, 20-1. I think that's a bargain for both teams. Matter of fact, the Colts, I think, are like 40-1 to win the Super Bowl. They're getting disrespected. Both teams disrespected. But I like the Colts. They're only giving 1 at home. You like Houston. Why?
Well, I like Houston for a couple of reasons, if you will. Look at what happened last year when these two teams met in the wild card round of the playoffs in Houston. Big playoff revenge, if you will, for the Texans here. They were bumped out 21-7 in that football game. Fundamentally, I like Houston in this football game because they do best what the Colts do worst, and that's running and stopping the football. The Colts allow 5.1 yards a carry. Houston gains 5 yards a carry. That's what I call a 5-by-5 dog. And those are wonderful in division football games, which is what we've got here. So I'm going to play the numbers, the stats, the facts, and look for Deshaun Watson to improve to 6-0-1 to the spread in his last 7 games as an underdog.
All right, that's a good one there. We'll see. And I think the number will stay the same. I don't think Houston will become the favorite on Sunday.
No, I don't think they will either.
Okay. And I also like the Colts, too, because they've had an extra week to get healthier. That was an issue I had with them the last couple of games before the bye, including Darius Leonard. Of course, he is one of the top. He was one of the top rookies last year. He just being out of the lineup for a few games definitely part of the reason why the Colts didn't have a good run defense. But I like the fact that they're not completely healthy, but they're definitely a lot healthier than they were a few weeks ago. Should be a good football game. By the way, the Colts have covered 8 straight football games in their first of back-to-back home, including already doing that once this year. Let's talk about a game we agree on. Packers and the Raiders. Packers are a 5.5-point favorite. Whoa, that's a respect for the Raiders. Only a 5.5-point dog in Green Bay. But that's what happens when you're 3-2 and you have an impressive win overseas in Chicago. But a couple of trends definitely favor the Packers here. Green Bay, 10-1 against the spread their last 11 versus an opponent coming off a bye after they've won the game into the bye. While this one's even better. Oakland just 1-13 against the spread in the last 14 on the road after they have won back-to-back football games.
Yeah, there's I think cases to be made for both sides of this football game here. One for Oakland coming off of London. Teams do really well with that week of rest after playing in London. They're feeling pretty good about themselves right now. on this little mini win streak of sorts, if you will, and they're catching Green Bay off a Monday football game. So I think the logistics here favor Oakland in that sense. What's going on with the Green Bay Packers right now, just before we come on to do this video, is that they've declared Devontae Adams out again, and they've also got numerous injuries. The Green Bay Packers
Oh
do.
yeah.
This line was taken off the board for about an hour ago because of these injuries, and brought back up at Green Bay -4.
Ooh.
So, they're anticipating some more Green Bay injuries here, and the Pack did not look good Monday night. They looked like their wide receivers were linebackers trying to catch the football. I've never seen so many passes go through the hands of wide receivers as I did Monday night. It was unbelievable. But the bottom line here is they're not 100% healthy, obviously here. To me, this is a coin flip game. When I do it, the Playbook newsletter, we sided with Green Bay in the contest here, but I don't like what I saw one Monday night, and I don't like the injury situation report that I'm hearing. So rather than take a side in the football game, I'll watch it and I'll put it in your hands.
Well, look, I like Lazard. Lazard, of course, you big time college football follower as well. He had a very good career there at Iowa State. It's nice to see that he's found a home with Aaron Rodgers. We both saw what everybody saw on Monday night. The receivers were awful. They had to go to the backups and the backups of the backups, and they had to have kick returners who had to turn into receivers, and it wasn't pretty, which is the reason why Lazard was the only receiver Aaron Rodgers could trust. I get that. And all things considered, I'm okay with it because it means the Packers only have to give 4 points. And that's a small number. It's the same they gave Detroit last week. And I really like what John Gruden's doing. I think he's been disrespected since the day he got the job, especially from the media. I don't know about you and what you've seen and heard, but I think it's jealousy. When people have worked with John Gruden all these years, he turned into an analyst, and he gets this cushy 10-year job, and he hadn't coached in a long time, and he gets full control, and he gets to do whatever he wants, and then everybody starts picking him apart and talking about, well, he won with Tony Dungy's guys, and all sorts of ways to disrespect John Gruden. And here he has once again proven what a great coach he is. So I'm not surprised that this team is 3-2. I expected them to be better. I actually thought they'd be a bona fide wild card team with Antonio Brown, and maybe they're a bona fide wild card team without him. But I still think Detroit right now is a little bit. I still would rate Detroit a little bit better than Oakland, and the spreads were the same. So even with all of the ugliness, Green Bay still found a way to win that football game. And winning 3 straight in the NFL, just like the Raiders have proven over the last 14 times they've tried it, isn't very easy.
No, it's not very easy, to say the least, especially with a football team that's not 100% going into the contest.
Yes.
We can sign off on this game with this kind of fascinating note, if you will. But you go back and you look at the games in London, England. The last 9 teams that have won a game in London, England, have gone on to make the playoffs.
Ah.
So you might want to look at that open
Wow.
ticket there, okay?
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
All right. Hey, you know what? With some of the injuries that are going on with these quarterbacks, there are opportunities popping up that maybe we didn't think that there would be in the AFC or even the NFC. Let's talk about one of those NFC teams and get right back on the Detroit Lions. Look, the Lions just keep making money for me. They've covered 4 straight games, and I've picked them in each one of them. And that's the reason I'm picking them here. And, of course, you're going to go with your boy Mike Zimmer and the Vikings again. So this was a natural that we were going to disagree on this one. I don't know how the Lions respond to a game where everybody knows that they got shafted. But they better respond because now all of a sudden they've dropped 2 straight. They are already, a couple games behind Minnesota. You can't lose this. This is a desperate football game for the Detroit Lions. I expect that considering how they've played, how I felt about them all year since week 1, I anticipate they're going to come out and play a good football game. So they're a mini home dog. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Lions here.
Well, Mike Patricia's got his work cut out for him to keep this football team focused here and get them back up off the map, because it was a devastating loss for Detroit, who led the football game from start to finish until 1 second remained in the game. They were a bit fortuitous just to not lose not only the game but the point spread, given the fact of the way the game ended when
Yeah.
Williams decided to sit down on the football at the 1 yard line. He pulled a Todd Gurley. But the bottom line being what it is in this particular football game. Yes, I'm on the ATM machine once again this week, Mike Zimmer. And I'm also looking at fundamentally what I like in this football game. Again, it's what Minnesota does, and Detroit cannot stop. And that's run the football. You've got another 5-by-5 team here in Minnesota that runs the ball over 5 a carry. Detroit gives it up 5 a carry. And you've got the team with the better offense and the better defense in Minnesota. Put tape over the names of these two teams, and you think Minnesota would be the 4 or 5 point favorite here. They're only 1.5 or 2 as we speak right now. I'm on Minnesota, and I can totally understand why you're on Detroit, because if you've been on this merry-go-round and it's been cashing tickets for you, there's no sense in jumping off. I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I haven't. So I'll ride the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, let's go to a matchup that we agree on, and that is Jacksonville, 3.5-point favorite at Cincinnati. The Jags are coming off a loss to the Saints. We both liked the Saints last week, so they came through for us. This is different. This is a Jag team that now has to go to Cincinnati to face what could be the worst team in the NFL. Bengals have dropped both of their games, straight up ATS at home. They just put Cordy Glenn at a one-game suspension. They've got their secondary guys are out left and right. You know, Dunlap has been banged up and not been playing. Look. They're right now. All the Bengals are waiting for, and really all the fans are waiting for, when are they going to give Finley an opportunity to play? And there's something sort of like what happened with the Giants, and what happens with teams that have young quarterbacks on the bench. That's all Bengal fans could be rooting for and hoping for at this point. Jacksonville already has their rookie quarterback, but of course Foles will get back into the picture possibly soon enough. And maybe Minshew can hold the fort. I think he's going to continue to hold the fort. That was a real good New Orleans team he played. That was a real good Carolina team he played. This is a real bad Cincinnati team he's going to play. So, yeah, this has definitely got to be one of the better picks of the week.
All I could say to your commentary, Greg, is how dare you take the mantra away from the Miami Dolphins not being the worst team in the National Football League. Even the Washington Redskins went in Miami and beat them. My goodness sake!
At one point.
But Cincinnati they're knocking on the door. There's no question about that. And if they're tanking for Tua like they're doing down here in Miami, they'd best not do that. And the reason I'm saying that is their owner is very, very frugal. I don't think he'll go out and draft Tua Tagovailoa and pay him the kind of first-round money that goes to a first pick of the draft. He's just that cheap.
Well, more reason to get Finley in there then.
No, true it is. There's no question to find out whether or not he can be the man. But I don't think Cincinnati's tanking. They just have some talent issues, is what they've really got here. The truth be known.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I think Gardner Minshew bounces back after his first bad game in the National Football League. You're taking a look at the numbers in the contest here. None good for Cincinnati in the game. They're just 4-9-1 to the spread in non-division games after playing Baltimore. 0-4 as a dog in that particular role here. I'm going to be with Jacksonville. They're the better football team. They're in a win situation. I'll be with you in the Jags in this game.
Yeah, the Jags still have a playoff shot. So this is a big game for them. All right. By the way, the Jags are 7-0-3 against the spread in their last 10 versus AFC North teams. So we'll ride a little of that as well. Let's talk about a game we disagree on. Baltimore at Seattle. And Seattle has another team that's been pretty kind to me this season. They've won 3 straight, 2-0-1 ATS in those 3. They were one of my top picks last week. They're taking on a Baltimore team that beat the crappy Bengal team we just talked about. You know how I feel about Lamar Jackson, so we can move on from that. I get where you're coming from. Baltimore 8-2-1 ATS, last 11 as a road dog, including 1-0 this year. To me, though, Seattle's just a better football team. I know there are some injuries I'm concerned about on the offensive line. Their only tight end that is somebody that actually can make plays. So that does concern me. I still think that there are some issues on defense with Baltimore, though. Russell Wilson is having one of his best seasons. They're at home. Like I said, I think they're the better team. It's only 3. I'll give the 3, but you'll take the 3.
I will gladly take the 3 in this football game, and I'm not as high on Seattle as you are, and A lot of it comes from looking at their stat sheet, if you will. They're just not putting up the yards to match the points that they're winning football games on the field by. They're 5-1 in the season. Four of those wins are by a grand total of 8 points, which means they could well be 1-5 on the football season had the ball not bounced their way in a lot of those football games. And I'm going to go back to what I love doing the most, especially when we got some games under our belt. And that's the old fundamental matchup here. Baltimore runs the heck out of the football, and Seattle's rush defense is weak at best. I'll play Baltimore plus the points in this football game. And remember this, as good as Seattle has been at home, they haven't been of late. They've lost the money 4 straight games in a row at home. Suddenly, that home field dominance is worn away for Seattle.
All right, let's go to another game we agree on, and that is the Monday night game. Patriots are a big 10-point favorite over the Jets. Jets get a big win over the Cowboys. What a surprise. Sam Darnold comes back, and the Jets win a football game. They take on a Patriot team that you have not been overly impressed with this season, even though they have won every game. But I can completely see, of course, where you're coming from. The schedule hasn't really tested them out. The offense has really been underwhelming. It's been the defense and special teams that's carried the Patriots so far. Couple of trends that favor the Jets in this one. The Jets are 22-4 ATS last 26 through games 5 to 8 of the season versus the division opponent as a dog, while the Patriots are 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 as a division road favorite of 8 or more. Jets are also getting C.J. Mosley back this week, so they get their quarterback back last week. They get their quarterback of the defense back this week. You know what? This game could very well go down to the last couple of minutes.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if it does in this contest here, Greg. First of all, this is a division game. It's going to be catching the New York Jets' interest unquestionably in the contest here. And you've also got a New England football team that's really, really banged up at the wide receiver position coming into this game. So much to the point that they're going to end up, you watch this game and the way it unfolds, you're going to see a lot of running the football by the New England Patriots in this contest. Brady just doesn't have anybody to get the ball into their hands, much like the situation going on in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. The same thing's evolving right now in New England as we're speaking. You got the Sam Darnold case for the Jets here, who suddenly feel revived. I can look for a big game by Le'Veon Bell in this football game, this contest as well. Not that I'm in love with the New York Jets. I'm kind of anti-New England, as you mentioned earlier on in the show. But I think this is a good spot with New England being banged up at this wide receiver position.
All right, and then a game we disagree on, the Eagles and the Cowboys, the third of 3 division games. You'll take the Eagles. I'll take the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a 2.5-point home favorite. I am only taking the Cowboys as of today. I don't know if I'll stick with them if Amari Cooper doesn't play. Now, I don't know if any reports have come out today yet. It is Friday. We usually hear on Friday one way or another. But if Cooper plays, I'm taking the Cowboys. If he doesn't, I've got to really think long and hard about it because they're still banged up on the offensive line. We don't know if either of the tackles are going to return in this game. But this is not just a Cowboy thing. This is a Philly thing. The Eagles, as we saw last week, I don't think this is a playoff team. I just don't. I think this is, matter of fact, the game that this is one of the games that's going to decide this division this year. One team's coming out of the NFC East, and that's it. Could be a 9-win team, possibly. Cowboys, though, have beaten the Eagles 3 straight. They've also won 12 out of 14 straight-up ATS against NFC East teams the Cowboys have. I think that continues. Again, I want to make sure some of their players are back and healthy. And I'm sure if they are, the point spread moves back to 3. But I'm going to lean towards the Cowboys here.
Well, again, I'm going to be the opposite side of you in this football game here for one large reason. Or I should say 2 reasons. Number one, it is triple revenge, as you say, for the Philadelphia Eagles. And when you find triple revenge exact situations in the NFL and you have a 500 or better team that's capable of extracting that, they do just that, especially as road dogs. Sunday night football games have not been kind to home favorites, especially in division football games. And Jason Garrett has not been kind to the point spread at home in his career, where he's the worst head coach in the National Football League laying points at home. In fact, the Dallas Cowboys in this game, this is from our incredible stat of the week in the Playbook Football newsletter this week. Dallas Cowboys as home favorites, when they're off a straight up and point spread loss, are 1-18-1 against the spread the last 20 games in this particular role. I think the Eagles get their triple revenge Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys.
All right. And speaking of stats of the week, what about that stat last week? UNLV came through again over the Vandy basically came through for us. Remember that one?
That was rather amazing. In fact, I had tweeted that out and got quite a nice response to it. And when they won, it was like, oh my goodness.
What was that, before or after?
It was.
That you
I had
tweeted it out
right after we did the podcast.
after we did the podcast. Well, there you go. Then people, I'm sure they remembered it. So yeah,
Yes.
that was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, 19 years in a row that Vandy has lost Game 6 of the college football season. Quickly, Saints Bears. Now, Kamara's injury is obviously going to be. I mean, that's just huge. If he doesn't play in this football game, I don't even know if I could take the Saints, but. I mean, I am siding towards the Saints because of Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, why not? The guy doesn't lose, especially against the spread. They've been really kind to me the last several weeks. I don't even know if Trubisky's playing or not. If he does, I don't know if he's 100%. So I kind of like the Saints, but I mean, the Kamara injury, that's the thing that I'm kind of waiting for.
Well, he's a huge factor, huge cog, no question about that, to the New Orleans attack, and they're going to have him to get in and out of Soldier Field alive this Sunday here. The Chicago Bears are another one of these teams that come back from London off a loss, looking to get back on the win track, and I, like you, have been on New Orleans. I've been riding this train from New Orleans, little Arlo Guthrie pun there, for a lot of this football season here. It's difficult to get off of that particular train, but I do like the Bears' situation in this game here. I mentioned the fact that they come back from London, England. I publish a insider's book called The Black Book. And inside the Black Book, I feature 12 super handicapping systems. One of them applies in this game. And it basically involves teams that were in London, England the game before. And they come back from London, and the next game they play, there's an over-under total in the game of 44 or fewer points. Those teams are 15-1 against the spread all time, coming back from London.
Right.
So I'm calling that my favorite memory. That was a memory going to London, England. My memory will be all over the Chicago Bears in this game.
Now, why do you like the Chargers, by the way, as much as you do? I know it's one of your plays of the week. I look at this game and I don't even know what to do or what to think. I mean, Tannehill's going to start. Okay, I don't know if that's going to be better or not. He played better in the preseason, but that was the preseason. Maybe Ingram comes back for the Chargers. They're on the road. That's a good thing. They're always better on the road than they are at home. And you just never know what you're going to get out of Tennessee, even though that performance against Denver was just atrocious. Maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. I mean, the Chargers did lose to Pittsburgh with a third-string quarterback, so I don't know. This is a crazy game.
Well, it goes hand in hand with always beware of the obvious, and you're never as bad as you look in your worst loss. On the flip side, as good as you look in your best win. The Chargers, that was maybe their worst loss of the season, losing to Pittsburgh at home with a third-string quarterback. But look inside their numbers since they made the move from San Diego up to LA. They've been atrocious at home. 19 games the Chargers have played at home. They've only won 10 of them straight up, and they've lost the money 12 times in those contests. On the other side, when they play away from home, they're 13-7 straight up, 13-5-2 to the spread. I think getting out of Dodge is the best thing that can happen to the Chargers in this football game here. Then you also throw in the fact that Phillip Rivers has owned this AFC South division since the AFC South came into being. Rivers in his career is 23-7 straight up, 24-5-1 to the spread. This is just where the Chargers want to be this week in Tennessee, taking on the struggling Tennessee Titans. I think the Chargers get back on the win track Sunday.
By the way, we also disagree on this Arizona game. You like Arizona over the Giants. Giants get Barkley back. They get Ingram back. If Patrick Peterson returns for Arizona. So, in general, the personnel's better on the field. That's good for us fans. I don't know about Arizona winning 3 straight, coming all the way to the East Coast, playing an early game. Here's a good trend for the Giants: 10-0-1 against the spread their last 11 after a Thursday game. I like the Giants better than Arizona. I think these are pretty equal teams. Giants seem to play better against these types of teams than when they have to step up a competition. Is there a specific reason that you like Arizona?
Well, we when we go to press with with our weekly newsletter here at the time, it wasn't known about Saquon Barkley,
Ah, okay.
and Ingram was still doubtful for the football game. It looks
Got
like
it.
they're both going to play in this contest,
Okay.
which would flip positions for me in the game. But being who I am, I cannot take a side opposite of what I have in print. I just can't do that. It's I'm just not allowed to do it. I won't do it. So in print, we have Arizona over the Giants by 3, but because of what's happened since we went to print, it'll keep me out of Arizona for sure in the football game. I think it's a real tough call. You got two bad football teams going toe to toe, and my old mantra was garbage to
You're
garbage.
right.
You play the dog in the garbage to garbage football games. This is garbage to garbage on Sunday.
I got a better one. Garbage to garbage. You stay away from the football game.
Well, you can,
You can. That's probably
unless
the better advice.
unless you have an attraction to maggots.
Yeah,
Yes, you do.
absolutely. I was surprised that you liked Atlanta too. I mean, not that the Rams are a team that you want to be jumping on right now because they're a dysfunctional mess. Of course, I feel real good about sticking with the Niners last week against the Rams in that one. So I have no confidence in the Rams. Don't get me wrong, but I have less confidence, as you know, with Atlanta. I've said 3 weeks ago that Dan Quinn was done after the Colt game. And come on, I mean, this is if the Rams can't beat Atlanta, wow. I mean, I don't even think the Rams are going to the playoffs. By the way, whether they win or lose this football game, I'm not sure what Jalen Ramsey does for them. But wow, if you can't win this football game the way the Falcons are going, then the Rams are in serious trouble.
Well, I think what Jalen Ramsey does for the Rams is he adds a cancer to the locker room.
That's always good.
Yeah, he's always done that
They like
wherever
those
he's
players
played.
with the Rams, don't they? They like to Dominican Sue and Peters and Talib and Jalen
Yep.
Ramsey and Dexter Fowler.
Yep. They see the talent. They don't see what comes with the talent, the garbage that they have to take along with the talent. I don't know if he's going to help them immediately here, but this is more or less Atlanta's last gasp chance. They're at home. Matty Ryan's done nothing wrong. This offense is really hitting on all cylinders for Atlanta. It's been the defense that's been obviously the sieve to this football program here. But my main reason for playing against the Rams is simply put that defending Super Bowl angle that we love and we've used so well in the past when you find these defending Super Bowl losers that are road favorites in non-division games. They've absolutely stunk up the joint. Now, the Rams haven't done a lot of that this year. They've gotten past 2 tests. I don't think they're going to make it 3 for 3 in this Atlanta game. I'm going to bear down with the Falcons in this football game. Get a clothespin out, hold my nose, and play the
All
Falcons.
right. What do you think about this Super Bowl right now? My picks have fluctuated since the beginning of the season, but I'm feeling good again about my original, and I don't know what it is, but I kind of like this Carolina Indianapolis thing. Especially with I still get the feeling that if Cam Newton once he's healthy, I think he's going to take over again because Carolina just can't win every football game. They're going to lose, and when they lose and Newton's healthy, Newton's going to get back in and play. And I do think if Cam Newton's healthy, then Cam Newton is a better quarterback than Kyle Allen. And if he is healthy, the way that team is playing, they're a very dangerous team, and yet they're sitting there at 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. And as I said before, the Colts are 40-1. Who do you like right now? Do you have a couple of maybe sleeper teams, not the
Well,
obvious teams?
I think much for the reason that you like Carolina with Cam Newton coming back to help the team. I'm going to stay with my original pick, and that's New Orleans with Drew Brees coming back
Sure.
to put the icing on the cake for New Orleans. I think Teddy Bridgewater's done a great job keeping this program above water and even winning. So when Drew Brees does come back, I think it's going to only benefit New Orleans. I think they're going to be very difficult to beat out of the NFC. I think the AFC with Kansas City now with the Patrick Mahomes situation here, I don't know what his knee situation is, if he's out for the year or going to be, we don't know yet. But the bottom line is without Patrick Mahomes, it's wide open in the AFC. It probably widens the gap for New England, if you will, because there is no real threat to the Patriots in that really poor AFC East division here. Buffalo a little bit. But any other than that, there's nobody out of the AFC South that I think is head and shoulders above anybody else. The AFC North is nobody's good in the AFC North. And you're
No,
talking about Cleveland and or Baltimore coming out of that
that's a
division.
bad
And
division.
out of the AFC West, it was the Chargers here, and the door's now opening up here. So I think it's a total crapshoot out of the
How
AFC.
about how about a sleeper for the Super
A
Bowl
sleeper
in
out of
either
the
conference?
Well, I know New Orleans can't be a sleeper because they're going to end up being a
I
favorite.
mean, you
Uh,
got Houston's 20-1. I mentioned Carolina. You got Minnesota's 25-1. You're a big
I'm going to
Zimmer
throw the
fan.
Buffalo Bills in on you, okay?
33-1. Okay.
Yeah, they're playing some really rock solid defense. They don't have a lot to beat in the AFC East. They'll likely make it as a wild card team. And if you get into the playoffs as a wild card team and you do bring a good defense
That's
along with
right.
you,
Yep.
which they have in Buffalo, anything can
That's
happen. So
right.
they would be my long shot wild card out of the
And
AFC.
I could see Buffalo if they were matched up. Like, let's say they win a wild card game and then they play the Patriots. I could see that being a close football game with the Bills' defense, with the recognition of those two teams. That anything because that's when the Patriots lose. When they lose, they usually do lose to teams that play really good defense. That's how you beat Tom Brady and the Patriots.
Exactly, and not to keep pounding the Patriots, but look at this list of these usual suspects that New England has beat this year. I mean, they are literally sisters of the poor.
Mm-hmm.
The only good team they played has been the Buffalo Bills, who, as you know, played them tooth and nail in that particular football
With their
game. So
quarterback hurt.
yeah, exactly. With Josh Allen being hurt in the football game, so Sean McDermott's doing a great job with this football program here. I think right now they have to move up a slot or two into position out of the AFC.
And lastly, I noticed going through the playbook that you had my team, even though I'm going against my team this week, you had my Michigan Wolverines over Penn State. I was kind of shocked. So what I mean, Harbaugh and the Michigan. I mean, they don't do well on the road in this spot, and the offense isn't very good. Penn State's defense is one of the best in college football. It's the whiteout on Saturday night. It's revenge after getting crushed last year. So come on, give it to me, Michigan. Why?
Let's break down who Penn State has played this year and who they've beat. They've gone up against two decent defenses this year, Pittsburgh and Iowa. They scored 17 points against each of those two teams, and it's arguable that Michigan is the best defensive between those two football teams.
Okay.
So now you're talking about a good defensive dog coming in here, and while everybody's been down on Michigan this year, look up because they only have one loss in the season, and that's to Wisconsin. They control their own fate going out. They can win out, win the Big Ten, and make it to the college football playoffs if they do that. Because that would mean if they got through the Big Ten and won the championship game, they'd likely beat, in essence, Ohio State. A one-loss Michigan team that has knocked off Ohio State will be in the college football playoffs. So here, they control their own fate. They're going into Penn State, and it all starts at Happy Valley in this game.
Look, I hope you're right, but a good handicapper he always uses his head and not his heart, which is why I'm taking Penn State this week. That the offense is what scares me, and they turned the ball over, which would give easy scores for Penn State. But I hear what you're saying because 9 points is a lot of points to give up when you don't score a lot against good defenses, and Michigan comes in with that defense. But that's the deciding factor is we've got to believe that if Penn State covers, Michigan's probably going to turn the ball over a few times and make it easy for them.
Yeah, they will. Michigan's going to have to play a clean game here, obviously, but this Michigan defense is beginning to come on right now. Part of their struggles early on was the defense was a little bit soft, and it appeared to be that way when they took on Wisconsin, who ends up turning out to be a juggernaut. But Michigan's held their last two opponents to season low yardage marks.
Mm-hmm.
And every year they played under Jim Harbaugh, they've not allowed a 300 yards per game average in any year that he's been there. They're on track to do just that again this year. And if they stifle Penn State this Saturday, it will be because of the defense. And if the defense does just that, they could be on their way.
Everything else going okay for you, Mark, especially over there at Covers. You've got not only the NFL, but college football. Anything else going on?
Everything's going really good. In fact, over at Covers, you can check out our article. We do an Inside the Stats article. I talk a lot on the podcast or on the show here with you about looking inside the stats of these football teams, like a doctor looking at the x-rays. I publish a weekly article called Inside the Stats. I've got it at covers.com right now. It's a great read. And read it, and you'll be surprised at what you pick up, some interesting stats and facts that you never were aware of. Check it out at covers.com.
Appreciate it, Mark. Enjoy the games this weekend, including tonight. We'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, my pleasure as always, Greg. Enjoy the games and be well.